Your old story seems to keep repeating itself again and again, but your subconscious mind is created to repeat patterns that are learned over time. So once you really understand this, that cycle can be broken. Hello guys, welcome to today's video. We're talking very much about your 3D reality, why things keep repeating itself, why you can't seem to shake that old story off, which is, yes, what all my clients come to me with when there's a struggle with the old story, questions about what do I do with this, why is this happening, and just dealing with that, understanding it, really delving into what do we do when it comes to the old story, rather than just saying, well, here's how you manifest, how to actually deal with this aspect of things. So keep watching. I've got 3 really important sections with all sorts of different advice and points that will help you guys along your manifesting journey. So now let's start. Your 3D, great start, Alexa. Your 3D reality might look like it's not changing or it's stuck, but really those shifts that are coming in, that are starting, that can happen throughout the journey, is very much tied to you, to your mind, the way you think, what's going on internally for you. Very much, as I've highlighted in past videos, something that is internal rather than external, that always precedes the external 3D shifts. So it's this intangible change that's happening where it's all mental, and along the way, when it's maybe hot and cold, it's really about what's going on in your mind. So it might look like things are quiet or you haven't seen lots of positive progress forward, but things are shifting, and the way your thoughts are shifting is the key element. So your 3D reality has to catch up to what's going on internally. A big reason that I will talk a little bit about in this video, but yeah, it's something I've highlighted very, very often, is that very much your 3D reality lags behind. There is this time lag, time delay. So it needs time to catch up to what you're reflecting. So again, it might look like your 3D isn't changing much, but don't immediately jump to panic or say, well, I didn't get what this other person got, or it's not really quick, or it's not the ultimate success that I was hoping for. And then you just create assumptions based off of that. Try not to jump to these presumptuous assumptions where everything is very black and white, binary. Just give yourself some leeway during the manifesting process. Because if you get very much stuck in what's going on with your 3D and you're constantly reacting to circumstances that happen, and you are, needing to see and waiting to see what changes before you think positively, feel positive, get on with your life, just feel good and enjoy your life, get on with your daily routine. If you're very reliant on the 3D and what's being shown to you and saying, well, SB hasn't said this, or this hasn't happened, my boss, my friend hasn't come up to me and said this yet, why it's not a success, jumping to these assumptions and needing that reassurance to actually believe in, trust in, and feel confident, not even fully believing, but just feel confident about manifesting, about what you're manifesting. If you're reliant on that, then you're going to be stuck throughout the entire process. It's going to be very hot and cold, because there's no guarantee that every day you're going to see progress happening. Every day you're going to see the movement coming in. There's no guarantee that, what's happening externally is just going to instantly and continuously shift in front of your eyes. So if you really want to know, how things are changing, what's going on, am I actually doing this correctly? It doesn't matter if it takes another week for your SP to say something, or another week to see that communication and those steps forward that you need for your manifestation, or that you think, well, this is how, the manifestation will come in because of what I'm manifesting. Just allow that to come in. It doesn't matter if it's one more week. If you say, I'm on top of my mental diet, I'm not wavering as much, I notice my thoughts are a lot more positive, I had some amazing positive dreams, like when I wake up my mind starts looping my affirmations. These are all signs where you are looking into your own mindset, your own thoughts, you're applying self-awareness and saying, okay, well, maybe the circumstance isn't 100% perfect just yet, but look at all these other signs, look at all the progress I've been making. It's not a fairy godmother manifesting for you. It's not your SP manifesting for you. It's not other people in your reality. It's you. So your mindset is the key element. So remember that you might be seeing a delay where you've ticked all the boxes, you are doing it correctly, you have been persisting and putting in the effort. So don't let yourself spiral or be discouraged just because right now you're not seeing what you want. Remember, there is this time delay where It's not instant. You can't snap your fingers and say, I've said my affirmations for 10 minutes. Now my 3D is going to change. Yes, you can speak to yourself like that, and you can start to build on those kind of assumptions that it's very quick and easy, and, you know, do these exaggerated affirmations that can absolutely help and definitely work. But also remind yourself, okay, I'm not going to panic and spiral just because, you know, another week has passed and I haven't yet seen what I want. There is a bit of a time delay. If you've wavered up until now, that's going to be a huge reason why you're not yet seeing these really quick results coming in. When you remove that reliance and that need to keep seeing, you know, your circumstances change, and I know that is the goal, and that's what, you know, the end result is going to be, a shift in those circumstances with the positive overriding the negative. I understand that. But when you stop needing that and focusing on that and being so attached to what's going on, or waking up every morning, checking your phone and then feeling disappointed at whatever it may be, trust me, as a content creator myself, I can relate. Like, I have taught myself to get out of those habits sometimes when I get too focused on numbers. So anything in the 3D that doesn't align with what you want and you're searching for it, it's not a good mindset. It's putting you in this state of requiring validation and waiting to think and feel good just because of what's playing out in your reality in that moment. So remember, that reality that you want, that outcome that you want, it is yours. It can be yours physically. Your focus is what determines that. So the only reason it hasn't been here yet is because you haven't had the assumption or belief that it's already yours, that it's very realistic, that it's, you know, just a natural thing that will happen, such as, you know, I met SP, or I got this job, therefore the next step I assume is just more and more progress forward. It doesn't always happen. That's a natural assumption. You haven't had that yet. The more you focus on having that positive outcome and development that you want, the more it comes in. Most people watching right now probably haven't yet subscribed or turned on notifications. So make sure you tap those buttons right below the screen if you don't want to risk missing out on the video, the updates that really answer the exact manifesting questions you have, being one of the first people to see my new content. So yeah, make sure you click that if you'd like to stay up to date. So in order for that 3D reality that you want to become your full physical reality, just the objective reality and facts in your life, it needs your focus. It needs your continued focus and certainty, consistency, you know, where you are putting your dominant focus and building up on something as the new normal for you. This is realistic. This is normal. This is my life. This is just the way I think now. It's automated. That's what your subconscious runs on. That's the fuel that feeds it. So in order for that to become a belief, to keep being built up, to change your own thought patterns and therefore have your 3D reality change, it needs your focus. It needs your consistency and certainty. Spoiler alert, that is all built up with repetition. Because once that becomes really realistic for you, your reality has to conform. That's just the way it works. You can't have a positive belief and your reality continue to reflect negative things. You can't be consistent with something positive and only have negative situations come up more and more. It can take self-awareness to really figure out what's going on. But the more you release that old story and doubting the new story and doubt of, you know, what might be coming together, what's really happening, the more your 3D will conform, the more your mind is conforming. So remember that what your subconscious mind will be doing is continuing on the same path that it's been taught. It's been programmed to think in alignment with the old story. That's what it has to do. It can't just veer off on its own. It has no consciousness of its own, no logical thinking, no analytical thinking. It just takes in what is repetitively taught, what is told. That's why, you know, in society there are maybe some beliefs that were disproven, or things just based on hearsay that people accepted that turned out to not be true. That is evidence, repetition, being told what you assume is a fact, and just learning something, your mind takes that in as information. It's not going to start questioning it. So when you start replacing it with the new story, with the new positive beliefs, that is what shifts it. That is you deciding, this is my new reality. This is where my focus is. This is what I assume as my belief, my life experience. And you're selecting that reality. You're choosing it. You're saying, this is now my life. So remember, your brain literally functions on that certainty, that repetition, of familiarity, of what has been repeated. That's why repetition is the core of manifestation. Yes, of course, there are things, I know some people have commented it before, obviously, you can manifest without sitting and doing, you know, tons of affirmations and putting in huge amounts of effort. Usually there's an underlying foundation, a belief, or something where that requires very little, you know, that has very little mental resistance and requires little effort. But generally, when we're manifesting the big things, the things that matter to us in life, it's because there's something opposing, or we don't just assume, yeah, life's going to be perfect for me. Life is going to work out exactly as I want. Everyone just loves me. You know, people don't go around with beliefs like that. That's why it requires the repetition. So it's building on that new identity, that new internal focus, the inner conversations that you are now building up. All the repetition, all the manifestation practices and techniques that you're putting in, that's what it's building up, rather than what you've allowed your mind to think and been telling yourself for months, for years, you know, your entire life. I mean, a lot of core beliefs are developed by the time we're 7, you know, general things that we learn, maybe some life lessons or, you know, general rules for life that our parents, our family teach us. Those kind of things are core beliefs and memories already built up. So think of how many years since being a teenager, you know, into adulthood. I know it's mostly adults who watch my videos. So think of how long you've had for those really to be impressed into your subconscious mind. So as you start to build your new version, your new story as the safe option, the realistic option, and you don't have to frame it in that way, your mind will accept it, but you're normalizing it. You're pushing down those barriers and those logical, doubtful thoughts that may be coming up and saying, no, 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 it's actually normal. It's actually my reality. As I just touched on identity, repetition is literally putting you into that identity and that end result and mindset of already having it. It's in alignment with what you want. You start to think and become and embody mentally the version of you that's already there, the version that has what you're manifesting, what you want. So the more you apply repetition, the more it becomes normalized and just your new way of thinking. Because the key element is not that you're wishing for something or saying, well, that's what I want, but I don't have it, and analyzing and reaffirming all the circumstances you're currently dealing with. It's about deciding and kind of providing confirmation to your own mind that this is now my reality. This is what I've adopted. This is where I'm mentally living from now on. And it has no choice but to accept that. The more you stack up that repetition every single day, you are strengthening that new story. It's literally going to change your neural pathways, your nervous system, your emotional reactions. It's literally adjusting everything internally. That's why I always say it's part of the movement, part of the progress. When you feel better, when you think better, more positively, you know, don't you guys recognize that as movement, as something positive? You can't have this amazing outlook on life and not achieve success. And all of that is built up on what you have consistently, what you're consistently feeling and thinking. That's why it requires you to persist every single day. That means just continue, don't give up. Keep applying the repetition, keep thinking from that way. Don't give up on your practices just because one thing or two things have gone wrong in your reality. So don't try and find logical reasons for the old story, for the circumstances. Don't think you have to unravel everything or say, well, I need a meaning to this. You need to be comfortable with just being okay with the unknown, trusting in the unseen, in the unknown. I have that myself with my religious faith in God. It's like this internal connection. So with your own mindset going through life as a human, it's the same thing for your brain. You are having this unseen faith, which I know not everyone also has the religious aspect, but it's a very similar process. You have to put your faith into this internal personal connection through your heart, through your mind. You just trust and know, like, okay, just because I'm not seeing the evidence right now, I'm not going to give up or change course. Only way to get rid of that old story is to stop reinforcing it through repetition, through that analysis and trying to figure everything out in your 3D reality. I am not saying, by the way, I've gone over this a lot with my clients as disclaimers. It's very important. It is okay to have conversations and be honest and, put up boundaries, stand up for yourself based on your current experiences. I'm not saying completely ignore anything that is connected to the old story. It's about your own personal analysis and your thoughts, or if you constantly initiate arguments, initiate negative behavior, that sort of thing, having an honest conversation or having boundaries and applying reflection on negative situations is okay and is part of your growth. When you replace those consistent negative reactions with a good mental diet, with repetition, that's what matters. So you're not constantly every day or, over a period of time reacting negatively in the same way, speaking negatively to people in the same way. Once, if it's required consciously, that's totally fine. Like, have the conversations and self-reflection and thoughts about negative things that you have to progress, to forgive, to move forward with your life. But when it becomes a pattern, that is when it is negative for you. It's going to be detrimental. So it really is about just persisting regardless of what you're seeing in your 3D reality. That's what persisting is. That's the only hard part and difficult part that people struggle with, or is more complex when it comes to manifesting. So start building up those habits where you're telling yourself, this is already mine. It's already my reality. Get comfortable with this being your life and not something you're reaching out to that's on a pedestal, that's far away, that you're trying to manifest. No, start embodying and identifying with, it's already mine. It's already here. How would that feel? How would it be in my life to actually be living there? Like, really put yourself in that scenario mentally. Ultimately, what you're seeing in the 3D, the, development and unfolding of your manifestation, whether it's been a certain amount of time or up and down, is irrelevant. Your focus on the end result, focusing on the positive elements, what you have accomplished, what you have done, what you're creating, that's what matters. Not trying to unravel and analyze these 3 negative things in your circumstances or past memories that keep popping up in your mind. Those are now done and irrelevant. As you normalize this, as you get used to this way of thinking, as it starts to become second nature and your mind just jumps to it when you wake up, when just automated in an automated way with your mental diet, these things will start to become like second nature, a learned habit. That's when you know that your mental focus, your mental diet, your internal state has balanced out. It's not wavering up and down. It's not constantly hot and cold. That's when you know, like, I'm really aligning with and starting to accept this new reality. So the goal is to keep chipping away at that mental resistance by focusing on the positive outcome, not trying to analyze or unravel or panic or spiral about what that mental resistance actually is. Acknowledge it and then flip it around. Keep going back to the positive path, the positive end result. That is tunnel vision on your end goal. That is what chips away day by day, more and more at that mental resistance, until, with this analogy, you literally chip away and get through the tunnel to the other side, to the end result that you want. The mental resistance is being broken down. That's your goal with your focus every day. Remember, your subconscious works on familiarity, on repetition. Your old story will fade away from your own thoughts and therefore from the actual circumstances and reality that you're living. The more you focus on it, the more you normalize and stabilize this new way of thinking, the new story, being the version of you who's mentally already there.